Hi, I want to share with you an example of a successful brand extension. The company I'm going to reference is Levi's, but before I get to the successful story, I do want to share a failure. In 1980s, Levi's introduced a brand extension called Tailored Classics, and what this was a wool suit sold separately so men could go in, find their size, and not have to get their suits tailored. Well, it didn't work. They were not successful. And the reasons for their failure was poor distribution channels, wrong target market, they were priced too competitively, but the biggest one was that there was just a disconnect between this extension and the parent brand. The Levi's image that was created, that kind of rugged, outdoor, cool image, was so far from the wool suits they were trying to sell that it did not work. The consumer cannot get past that kind of apples and oranges product, essentially. So Levi swallowed their pride, shut it down. But 6 years later, they introduced a new extension called Dockers. And this extension is one of the most successful apparel extensions in the last century. And Dockers is still around and has been around for 30 years, over 30 years. So what Dockers was a line of khaki pants. In 1986, they introduced a men's line, and in 1987, they introduced a women's line. And the reason they were so successful aligns with the 7 steps to effectively introducing a brand extension, as detailed by Kevin Keller in Strategic Brand Management. So I want to go over those steps with you and kind of streamline why Levi's was so successful. The first part of this, in kind of steps 1, 2, and 3, all align with this idea of knowing the brand, knowing what the consumer wants, and finding that brand equity. So, what Levi's did was they were known for their denim. They were known for their quality pants. They realized that shooting for the moon and introducing a wool suit was not the best way to go. So they kind of toned it down a bit, and they introduced another type of quality pant, just with a different material. So they created that similarity between both brands, where kind of the idea behind the denim quality pant can hold up in a work environment, can hold up in real life, can hold up running around, being a regular Joe. Transferred to Dockers as well, but again, just a different fabric. And, within this, they created a brand equity that aligned with those ideas of, the salience of parent-brand association, favorability of inferred extension, and the uniqueness of inferred extension. So, that brand equity was created because there's a positive image associated with the parent brand and Dockers. Because, when they are dissimilar, like the wool suit example, there's more likely points of parity, and it'll become a positioning priority. It just won't work. So, Levi's did that very well. The next piece is just evaluating the feedback from your consumer. And again, wool suit as the example, Levi's found that it was just too far-fetched for their consumer to align, so they reined it in and introduced a new pair of pants, just with a different fabric, but could still target to the market that they had already aimed and won. And so they found success there. The next part of the 7 tiers is looking at the competitive advantage. And one thing Levi's did, which was really cool, is they actually sold the Dockers in the same stores as the Levi's jeans. They kept them in the department stores, retail stores, and it's found, there's actually a study that was shared in the Journal of Marketing Research, that participants were able to better compare, contrast, align brands when they were looking at 1 and 2 at the same time, as opposed to one at one time, the other at the other time. So that's what Levi's did. They put both their brands in the same stores so consumers could easily compare, decide if they wanted to go khaki or denim, and they could find the connection through that. The next step is, the marketing campaign and seeing if it's successful or not. And this is actually something I just learned, that Dockers actually introduced the idea of casual Fridays, which is still known today. I mean, we do that in my office. And this is kind of a funny story, but it stems from in the 1960s, they used to have Aloha Fridays, where people would wear Hawaiian shirts. Well, the HR teams at the time decided that Aloha Fridays were just a little bit too wild. It was just too far from, that was still a very traditional suit and tie in the workplace. So the HR teams didn't like it. And so Dockers, having created these khaki pants that were appropriate for work, they actually created a guide that was called the Guide to Casual Business Wear. In this guide, there was, dress codes, what to wear, there was images, and it shared this idea that casual doesn't mean scrubs or dirty clothes or wrinkles. It was just, you are dressed more casually. You're not in your stuffy suit and tie. And they mailed these guides to over 25,000 HR management teams across the country. And it stuck. Casual Friday, that's where it came from. So that piece alone created a very positive image for Dockers. And it did associate itself a little bit different from Levi's, and it was able to start getting brand power on its own. And then, last but not least, you have to decide if a brand's successful or not. And one tier of this success is that 10 years after Dockers was created, it had already reached kind of global awareness. There was a marketing journal from London, England that produced an article raving about Dockers and highlighting the fact that Dockers was coming to Europe, that Dockers had this plan to create 300 chain stores, and they were going to be across Europe in the next 10 years. And this is only 10 years since it was created. And now, in 2019, Dockers is still one of America's favorite khakis. They've extended to different apparel, different accessories, and they're found in 60 countries on 6 different continents. So they did it. Levi's did it. Levi's extending to Dockers is one of the most successful apparel extensions. Thank you.